Okay. Packard, 1936 Packard 120. This engine got a fair amount of rust damage, garaged, but in a humid state, and mice climbed up the exhaust pipe and proceeded to nest in the exhaust manifolds. So every cylinder that had a partially open exhaust manifold or intake, because I think they cut into the carburetor and they made a mess. This thing got very badly rusted. I'm in the process now. Originally I was going to lap the valves and got the thing apart and realized it was a little worse than that. Cylinders actually look pretty good, but I will likely be disassembling this entire engine at this point. Here's the valves. I don't know. This was probably not one of the worst. This is the intake valve. I don't know. I think this is off of cylinder 2. There's worse ones, but I currently have all the intake and exhaust valves out and bagged in separate bags for each cylinder. And here's a exhaust valve, also from cylinder 2. If this thing will focus that close, not sure. They're not horrible. I think they will clean up with a valve grinding tool. The valve surfaces are pretty sad, some worse than others. Let's see, here's and once again the exhaust was the worst because that's where they climbed up. There's actually seeds down. Kind of hard to see, but there's because I've been using a lot of lubricant to knock things loose, but there was actually seeds down inside. Yeah, I've cleaned up a lot of it. But we can look at, here's a pretty bad cylinder here. Gotta zoom in. That is going to need some work. None of that can be done until the valve guides are removed, and once again the whole engine disassembled, inspected, run a hone down cylinders. But the valve guides are just destroyed from the rust. All the exhaust ones, like that one there, they're just, I really struggle getting the valves out, and those valve guides are just done. Look at this one here, is just mushroomed from the rust. So I found some limited information for the 282 Packard engine. I found no real information or videos, but I did find somebody had a video explaining how they could pull the valves utilizing an all-thread setup, where we'd actually pull them from the bottom up, opposed to driving them down and then busting them off. Or I do need to pull the cam, so I still have all the lifters on there, so you can't actually drive the valve guides all the way down, but I'm pulling them up. So I have this set up here, which is 3/8 by 24 threads per inch. My grade 8 or high grade, I don't know if it actually has a specific grade, that I got at McMaster Car. You can get, I bought a package of the nuts for the bottom. This is just a piece of key stock from work that I drilled a 3/8 hole in, or actually a little larger, I think. And then this is like an all-thread coupling, only it's threaded for the 28 threads per inch. for pulling, just to give it more thread catch, because I did attempt to make some tools using just standard 3/8 all thread, and it's not even worth your time. You'll just stretch the all thread, and these things do not come out easy. I've pulled 4 of the 16, but it's a task, each one. So I'll kind of get to that. I'll give you the parts, the McMaster car parts. Where is it? Here it is. So right here is the part numbers. And I just got like a bag of about 10 of the nuts because I fear I will be destroying them. And I got a 2-foot piece of the all thread. And I made a second tool, not if, but when I end up destroying that one. I hopefully can finish this off. The threads are already getting a little, just doing those 4, I can see a few marks in them from a little bit of a tough area. I did lubricate these, but it's taken its number. The other issue that I have run into that was not explained in the other videos that I watched, I'm doing this very low tech. I watched a pretty good video, and I'll hopefully have a link for that. But the guy actually had a Jeep Willys engine. The difference is he can pull straight up. If I get in here and show you, these valves actually sit at an angle. So when you're pulling, you're not pulling straight up. You actually have to pull at that angle. I don't know if that's, you can kind of see that those valves sit at an angle to it. One way they were talking about removing them is pushing them out the bottom, which is what I was going to try first. And I made this tool for the air hammer. Slips right down inside. All it did, it just shatters the top. It just keeps breaking the top. I'm just making a mess out of them with this. So I gave up on that idea. So I will not be doing that. So far I'm having pretty good luck pulling them with this puller setup. I'll get the camera on a tripod so it's not so annoying. But I'm going to end up having to prop this in here. I have all these little spacers so that when I prop this up, I can have it at the approximate angle I need to be. And I say approximate, I'm not matching it exactly, but close enough. So let me get the tripod set up here. So one thing that was different with the Jeep Willys, this 3/8 all thread, I've got the big all thread coupling nut here, and then just a standard nut here. It's 9/16 wrench, fits it. What I ran into was I can't pull it straight through with that nut on there. Apparently on the Willys engine you could. If you look at this, it won't fit down that hole. So I had to grind a nut down on the grinder so that it can pass through. And I end up switching to that because I can't thread it on very easy with pliers. So what I do is I actually put 2 of these nuts on the bottom first until I break it loose. And you'll hear it, it almost sounds like you're breaking something. Comes loose, and then I'll pull it a little bit, maybe a 1/4 inch up. I have, maybe 3/4 of an inch before it won't pull the nut through. And then I have to switch to the round one to be able to suck it the rest of the way up. So at this point, and then also my valve guides are slightly smaller than 3/8, or the valves themselves, the valve stems, are smaller than 3/8. So I have to drill that out to 3/8, being cautious to keep that angle so I don't drill through the side of the motor. It's got the hole through the middle, so it's fairly easy to follow, but the first one I did more straight, and it still worked. I was still able to pull it. I didn't get into the engine, but I realized that even with that, you know, the hole going all the way through, it's pretty easy to be off a little bit with the drill motor, especially when you're at a 12-degree angle or whatever that angle is. So next, I'm going to be attempting this intake. So I'm going to pre-drill and try to maintain that angle, and I'll spare you the sound and noise. Okay, I'm down. You can see the screw gun, or the drill motor's at an angle, and I'll show you underneath here. That's where I'm popping out of there. So now I will assemble the puller. Alright, now that's drilled out. I'm going to put more oil on the threads. Drop this down, so now it fits down through. And then I take the regular nuts, I put 2 of them on there. This has a tremendous amount of force on it. So that's why I did that, but I can't fit that underneath. There's not enough room for one to fit underneath, so I'm just using 2 nuts to increase the surface area of threads so it doesn't rip the threads apart as easily. Still can. Okay. And I don't even tighten the 2 nuts together because I don't care if they move. As long as they're tight against each other, they'll support the threads better. So those 2 are tight against each other, finger tight, that is. And then they are up against the bottom of that, the bottom of this. And keep in mind that's poking in probably like that far. So the nut's sitting here. Hopefully I can break it loose. I'm just leaving these in where I took them out. So, but you can also see they poke up a little bit. So when I lift this, I actually need this up here high enough that I can pick them out. If I leave it down like this, it's going to bottom out. I come up here and then I just start shimming. Remember, I need to keep that angle. That should be high enough to clear and maintaining the approximate 12-degree angle. This should be, if I pick this up, I should be able to kind of tip this back and forth. I did drill a hole a little sloppy, so I can be off a little bit on that angle. So now, raise this up, tighten this. Probably wouldn't even hurt to add a little oil right there. And then I actually took that all thread and ground 2 flats on there so I can grab the all thread. But at this point in time, I just need these 2 to suck together and try to pull up. So I'm going to grab the bottom of those 2 nuts under here. And this nut here, I'm actually going to grab the speed wrench and just start tightening. So I'm on the bottom nut down here, so they're both stacked together, so I'm putting pressure through the threads through both nuts. As long as they're not double nutted together, they will just thread very much like this here. There it goes. That one actually broke pretty easy. The other ones made a lot more noise when they broke loose. And then I'll go 1/4 inch, 3/8 of an inch. But remember, the nuts down here will not fit up through the hole. So at some point you have to stop, loosen this, and now I got to take those 2 nuts off. Take the 2 nuts off, and then this, which has been compromised from grinding on it. That's why I don't want to do the original, or the, to bust it loose with this. Once it's busted loose, then I'm okay. And then thread it on till it's well on. I'll thread this down. Okay. Now, because that bottom nut doesn't have sides on it, I don't really want to grab it with channel locks or vice grips or anything that'll just damage it. That's why I put this here. So now, just keep threading this on up. And I'll keep going. You don't need to watch the whole thing. I don't know how to do time lapse. Okay. And I just realized, I don't know if you could see very well, that I'm on a flat edge that I ground on the top of this awl thread. Like so. It's not quite free yet. I thought it was. But I can hold it by hand, so it's just, there it goes. Okay. So now you can see how that round, the one that I ground off, is easily a smaller diameter than this, whereas the outer edges of this nut won't fit through that hole. So once again, I just double nut it down here to give it extra threads, less likely to rip the threads out of 2 of them than it is 1. So that's it, just a slow process. I did measure the depth of the exhaust and the intake on how far these are pushed down. There is no stop on them, so when they're being reinstalled, you stop when you're supposed to stop, not against any particular point. I don't think it's extremely critical, but I do want them back where they're going to go. So now it's just, now I got the next one here. I'll just drill that one out and do that process all over again. Okay, so I just finished drilling out to 3/8, and these are so brittle, just drilling it out, you can see, where are we at? Here we are. You can see the top of that thing broke off. Just, these things just crumble. I'm hoping the new ones are stronger. I am thinning them out by drilling them out, which does in theory relieve some of the stress to help these pull out easier, but I'm barely taking any material off. Just going up to a 3/8 drill bit. And the awl thread just slips down that hole. So even drilling them out, and you can see why pneumatic chisel with that flat end on there just crumbles the top end of it. And at a certain point I wouldn't be able to push anymore because the diameter of that hammer would just stop on that hole right there anyways. So here we go. I'm gonna get this one off. Alright, here we go again. So I did drill that out. As I mentioned, 3/8 crumbled, broke the top, kind of like this one here. Same thing, it crumbled when it came out of there, or as I drilled it. Like I said, they're all garbage getting thrown away. But so now I've got this. Thread the rod back, or thread the coupling nut back up. Run it down in so it fits pretty snug in there. Drag this down. Put the two nuts on the bottom. Because of that angle, it jams up on this. And the threads on the bottom, I think, are just getting chunks of when I drill the hole in there, I'm sure it gets a little of that, the metal filings in there. Not bad, but it's enough that it's making this stick a little bit. Getting those nuts started because they should just be finger tight. And I did wipe the threads off, but just sticking the all thread through. Okay, so I got it far enough that I can get a second nut behind it. Once again, just adding more surface area of threads. And I just bump them up against each other. Come up. I may need to come up a little higher because remember we got to clear that. Thread this up. This is already the right height, and then this is just a piece of key stock, 1/2-inch key stock, and this is the all-thread coupling that I first tried to use with the standard. I think this is 3/8 16, I think, on mild steel, and it stretches the threads. It's not even, don't waste your time. So this is just an all-thread coupling that I used on. It's not this. This is the 3/8 by 24 threads, but it works good. Got my angle. I said you don't have to be perfect. I just drilled a hole a little sloppy in this. We're good there. It did seem to help. A little less friction wherever I can. Grab the very bottom nut here and okay, you can get quite a bit of tension. The other video I watched, the guy had his engine all tore apart and he had his cam out. He was actually able to get a brass drift up from the bottom, and he would put a bunch of tension on it and then tap on the bottom of the all thread, and then it would break loose. So far I haven't had to do that. Of course his engine looked like it had been soaked in a swamp. This one just had mouse piss all over it for years. There it goes. That one was more like the others that I did. Let's see, it's still pretty tough, but it is moving. Once it gets moving, I just make sure it's going to move up good. And then swap out to the nut that I took to the grinder that will fit through the there it is. That one there. I can't lose it. That's a valuable tool. I'll have to make another. Like I said, I did buy a bag of them. I couldn't find this stuff locally, and it was just easier to order on McMaster Car, and it was here in about 3 days, 4 days. So. But I could not find any. You're not going to find it at Home Depot for sure, but we have a couple of fastener places, but they were going to have to order it too, so they didn't have it in stock. I think they had the 3/8 threads and they had some bolts, but they did not have the 3/8 all thread that was the higher tensile strength. Okay, so we're tight now, remember, with the rounded one, so I can't put a wrench down here now. I did try once with channel locks, but I was afraid I was just going to damage something, and then that's when I decided to grind the flats up here. And also I was using a crescent on this and realized, why am I not just using a speed wrench? Oh, and one thing I did notice though is if you go too quick, because I went to town on one, see how quick I could take it off, pulling it just like this, only I just went to town just see how quick I could get them done, and it did end up getting really hot, which makes sense if you're at friction going on, but I think it's not good on it. I think it's best just to take your time. I mean, this is still going pretty fast, but I was really trying to see if I could get the time down it takes to get these all done, but I think that the friction would end up causing more metal wear. I did put more oil on the threads the second time, and it does help obviously with the friction, but so I'll just keep the video on for the whole thing of this. Maybe somehow I'll figure out how to do a time lapse, but I can't do it with this camera. Almost there, it's getting pretty easy now. And I am going pretty quick just for the sake of not videotaping 25 minutes of one valve guide coming out. Almost there. There we go. Just like that. And there we go. That was an exhaust valve. So that's it. And then you can see the threads there where that one, I actually bumped right up against the bottom. So this height worked good for the intake, but if you look, there is a difference. These are two different part numbers in the parts catalog for buying new ones. There are two different part numbers, and you can see the height difference right there. So apparently I need some more shims for the exhaust, or for the intakes. Exhaust. I just pulled an exhaust. So yeah, I'll need more shims for when I pull the exhaust ones. I think the last exhaust one I did, or the last two. So these are the exhaust. They just, the way they come out of the manifold here, they group them together, and you can see the tops of both these exhausts are broke, so I apparently didn't bump the bottom of this when I pulled these. So there we go. I will keep moving along. I got not even halfway done yet. Okay, just like that, an hour later maybe, they're all out. So I just have them all sitting in here. Now you can see that angle of them right there.
Okay.